Well, welcome to the Grampians Wine Podcast. I'm your host, Neil Butler. In each episode of the podcast, we speak to a representative of the Grampian winemakers or one of the wineries in the region. We'll learn about the wines, the wineries, and of course, the personalities associated with one of Victoria's leading wine regions. On today's episode, we speak to Robert Staehr, the viticulturist and manager at Mount Stapylton Wines, located in Laharum. Hello, Robert. Welcome to the podcast.
Neil, how you going? Good to be a part of it.
Excellent to have you here. So let's kick off by learning a little bit about your winery, where it is. I mean, Laharum, most people won't have heard where that is, and the kind of varieties that you produce.
So we're located on the western slopes of the Grampians, on the foothills of the Mount Stapylton range, on the sort of the undiscovered side of the Grampians, we like to call it. The vines were planted in 2002 to predominantly Shiraz, 75%, and we've since planted some Grenache vines last year to add to it there. So it's a bit under 2 hectares, a bit over 2,200 vines. So,
and you were saying to me, sorry, go on. Yep.
Yeah, a little bit about background. So, not originally in the wine industry. Me and my family are full-time farmers, grain sheep farmers. So in 2017, the neighbouring block come up and we decided to purchase it. And the previous manager of the vines was wanting to get out. So we've sort of jumped in the deep end and taking over the vineyard. And 2019 was our first vintage. So, yeah, it's been a great learning curve and a bit of a fun sort of side project with the grain and sheep enterprises.
So was the brand always Mount Stapylton Wines? Is that something you took on, or is that a new brand?
No, it's always been Mount Stapylton. The previous owner, Howard, he sort of set up Mount Stapylton Wines in 2002. So wanted to keep with that and hopefully improve the wines and improve the vines and have everyone enjoy it. So
if there's a kind of wheaty lamb taste to the wine you produce, we'll understand why.
Yeah, that's probably the cover crop. Last year's cover crop between the vines was wheat, and this year's is a little bit of vetch and barley. So I'm not sure how that'll taste, whether you get any notes of that in the wine, but time will tell.
I guess you will. So how many bottles are you producing every year, or how many cases?
Look, it's been only sort of had 4 vintages. We've had a fire, we haven't had a flood, we've had a frost, we've had a poor fruit set, and then last year we had a really big crop. So anywhere between sort of 2 to, I think last year we might have had around 10 tonnes to the hectare, but sort of the average production is anywhere between 200 to 300 dozen. So we're quite small. Boutique.
Yep. Boutique's a much happier word than small, isn't it? It sounds so much more professional, I think.
It does. It does sound a lot better, doesn't it?
So obviously you're relatively new to the game, but you've got people around you who've been in that part of the world for a long time. What is it that you think makes the Grampians wine region good for growing grapes and making wine?
So, typically Grampians, cool climate wine region. I suppose our slight distinctiveness is we're on the northwestern side of the Grampians. We're on slightly the warmer side of the Grampians. So we have quite warm days in summer. So the vines have to cope with a bit more summer heat, but they also get the cool southwesterly winds at night where the vines are just relax and just recover. So we probably have a slightly riper flavour profile than typical Grampians cool climate. So bit more sort of plum, blueberry notes to the wine.
Yep. And you were telling me before that you've actually gone in the last couple of years and done some studies. So you're now a qualified viticulturist. That obviously gives you some insight that you wouldn't have had as a wheat and sheep farmer.
Yes, and I think never again do postgraduate study while you're working full time. That was a very big challenge, but yeah, learned a lot. Did that up through Gotafe and got to see a lot of the vineyards up in sort of the northeast of the state with my studies. So yeah, learning. I think everything in the wine industry, viticulture, stuff like that, you're always learning. So it's
Yep. So what do you like most about the Grampians as a wine region, and why should people come up and visit?
There's so much to do. I think my personally favorite time to come to the Grampians is in spring, September, October. You've got all the flowering, beautiful flowering crops. You've got the smells of the favour bean crops flowering, beautiful yellow canola flowers. You've got just on our side, you've got, if you want to hike, you've got Flat Rock, Mount Zero, go venture and have a look, discover Hollow Mountain, Mount Stapylton. You've got the olive groves, you've got the native flowers. There's so much to do and see over this side of the Grampians and the rest of the Grampians as well.
Yep. And one or two significant sized towns over on that side of the Grampians as well. You've got sort of Horsham nearby as well. So things like, other shopping and stuff is available as well.
Yeah, definitely. Horsham's pretty sort of big metropolis these days, and you can plenty of accommodation, great restaurants, pubs. Yeah, plenty to see and do if you want to venture outside of the mountains. So.
Yeah. So we mentioned that a few years ago you thought this would be a good side hustle. What does the winery look like in 5 years? Does the wheat and sheep become the side hustle, or what happens with Mount Stapylton Wines in 2026?
It's a good question. Look, I would love down the track to have a little cellar door. We're just at the moment working on setting up a sort of tasting room to be available by appointment. So that's our sort of next thing. But yeah, look, this COVID's thrown a few more hurdles for us to jump over on that. But look, we're just really excited this side of the Grampians with the Peaks Trail, and hopefully getting some more tourists to come over this way and see the undiscovered side.
Well, one of the things we also like to do on the podcast is get to know a little bit about you, rather than not only about your winery, because that one of the things that's great about small wineries is that that they're operated by people who have got their own individual style. So how long have you lived and worked in the Grampians region?
So I've been here coming up 35 years on the farm. I grew up on the farm, which is sort of next door to where the vineyard is located. So yeah, I suppose I actually helped them plant this vineyard back in 2002. I was the one on the truck helping jet the holes for the vines to go in. So yeah, been around this Grampians and the farm for 35 years pretty much.
What was your first official role in the wine industry?
Probably vine planter and pruner, which I wasn't a huge fan of the pruning back when I was 16 years old. But since then, I've sort of developed more of a taste for the vino, and it's there's worse jobs around. So yeah.
Yeah, I've never spoken to anyone who's gone. I tell you what, the best part is I really love the pruning. If you're going on a road trip with you and you can only take one case of wine from Mount Stapylton Wines, what do you take with you?
I would go the 2019 Shiraz. Mm-hmm. If summer, definitely the Rosé.
Okay. Now we'll choose one or the other. Favorite meal to have with a bottle of wine from that case?
All right, let's go the Shiraz, and we're going to venture out and pick some field mushrooms on the property, and we're going to have that with a nice steak.
Excellent.
Steak and mushrooms with Shiraz, yeah.
And favourite location to eat that meal and drink that wine?
So favourite location, sitting on the deck overlooking the Mount Stapylton range, Flat Rock, Mount Stapylton, and the northern side of the Grampians.
So you're sitting on the deck, you've got the steak and mushrooms, you've got the Shiraz poured. What music is playing while that meal is being consumed?
That's a good question. Probably just something, a bit of maybe chili peppers or something like that. Get the party going.
Excellent. Now you can invite 3 people to that meal, living or dead. Who would those 3 people be that would share that meal and that wine with you?
Probably my grandpa. He's not with us now, but we were pretty close. And he was quite a funny gentleman. Probably Mark Wahlberg. I think he'd be a lot of fun. And one of the Toms from Vanderpump Rules, because they know how to, really get a party going. So
excellent. Sounds like a party city out at Laharum. So that would sounds ideal. Well, before we go, can you please let us know your location, your website, and your social media?
So we're located 1212 Northern Grampians Road, just sort of 25 k's sort of south of Horsham. We don't have a cellar door, but we're just in the process of setting up a tasting area, which you can access via appointments, hopefully to be sort of set up by September this year. And if you want to, our website is www.mountstapyltonwines.com.au. And our social media is at Mount Stapylton Vineyard on Facebook and Instagram.
Okay, and we better tell people, in case they're listening to this rather than watching it, that Stapylton is spelled Stapylton.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Okay, well, Robert, we have come to the end of the conversation. Thanks for joining us on the Grampians Wine Podcast today.
No worries. Thank you very much, Neil.
This has been another episode of the Grampians Wine Podcast featuring Robert Staehr from Mount Stapylton Wines. You can subscribe to the podcast by visiting grampianswinepodcast.com.au. It doesn't cost you anything to subscribe, but it will give you the chance to listen to previous episodes and to be reminded whenever we publish another episode. You can watch video versions of the podcast by subscribing to the Grampians Wine YouTube channel. We'll be back soon with another episode. My name is Neil Butler. I look forward to your company then. Cheers.